Hello, welcome back to From Soft Serve. Today is a super fun video. I say that every day, but last night I figured something out really cool that I've been trying to do for a long time. And the version that you're seeing here is not Dark Souls Remastered. It's actually the Prepare to Die edition. I have added, successfully, finally, dynamic shadows to Prepare to Die edition. Like this right here, you can see them. They look pretty snazzy. I added them to grass as well. And the key thing is, because I'm doing this and I figured this out, I will now be essentially remastering the Prepare to Die edition myself. And the key thing here is I'm going to treat this one differently. I'm not going to adjust lighting settings. I'm not going to be making big artistic changes. I do feel like this version, these visuals are vastly more sacred than Remastered. Because this is the base Firelink Shrine. And this looks fucking awesome. In the Remastered one, I really now understand more what they changed, and they sucked out all the green from the, from the scene, and like this delightful blur up here, and the bloom, and yeah, and not to mention I added the dynamic shadows, and they had no problem like displaying, and actually being visible. In Remastered, when I added those, oh my god, you couldn't see them at all. And so that's step one, is I've added dynamic shadows, or I am adding over time. And I'm kind of redoing the work I did on the Remastered mod, which is kind of fun because I've already done that work, so it's a lot easier to do it now because I've made the mistakes and I know what to do, and I know what to draw, what not to draw, and it actually helps a ton. So all of that work was completely useful to me. Although the resolution of the reflections are definitely lower than Remastered, so I have to look into that. My Remastered mod obviously is still going to be the focus. I'm having a lot of fun with that. That's one where I get to be more, I get to take more creative liberties. That's kind of how I'm viewing it. And then this Prepare to Die one, which I think I'm going to call Prepare to Remaster again, or Prepare to Remaster edition, something like that. And it is faithful. That's my first thing. So adding dynamic shadows to things, stripping out baked lighting only when necessary. And I'm going to show you when that is necessary and when it is not necessary. I will also be upgrading the textures manually, because Remastered did actually provide higher quality textures in certain scenarios. Not in every case, but they did sometimes. So I would like to upgrade the textures for Prepare to Die Edition myself, and by doing that I can 100% guarantee they will be faithful to the original, because the way that I upscale textures is very faithful to the original, and I have complete control over that. So, or if I don't like how the upscaler is upscaling it and I can't seem to tweak it, then I just won't. I think my first goal... Y'all are hornier in this version. I don't know, man. Did Q-Lock weaken you guys or something? You guys are horny AF. Jeez. Also, the fun thing is I don't have any characters in this version. Oh my god, I hadn't even mentioned why this is suddenly possible. My brain is going a mile a minute. The reason this is possible is I got my hands... Oh, that looks bad. What the fuck? Oh, I know what that is. I got my hands on the Steam version of Prepare to Die Edition. Not what I was using, which was the Games for Windows Live version, which sucks ass. It's terrible. It's the worst. So, I now realize that version didn't allow me to add dynamic shadows. That was the problem. It was, for whatever reason, stopping that. I'm not sure. I think it was the unpacking, because the unpacker would warn about that and say, hey man, this checksum is different, like this exe isn't one we recognize. And so the Steam version, no problem at all. Oh man, that looks really bad. But here's Undead Berg. I have removed... Oh my god. I've removed the baked lighting from exactly this map piece here, because I can do it on a map piece basis. I removed the baked lighting as I did in my remastered mod. And now, the shadows actually show up, and correctly, and you get nice dynamic... Actually, they're kind of soft. They're much softer than remastered shadows. And in a way that actually looks better. The remastered ones are super goddamn sharp, but it's actually sharp to almost a detriment, because of course, as we know, shadows are not meant to be that sharp, almost ever. So these lower resolution ones are actually a little bit more accurate, which is kind of a happy accident. And so the big thing here is like this shadow, this light and this shadow was not visible at all until I stripped out the baked lighting. And then you get this. But I also noticed something that I think even remastered, with my remastered mod, I don't even think this happened. You'll notice the light is actually coming in to the building now. And you can actually walk and your shadow will cover up that light. So it's not baked or anything. And, you know, obviously you have the doorway light coming in now that I've removed the baked lighting. So I don't even think in remastered the light was able to come through these like lattice looking windows or whatever. And I think that might be down to a different way that remastered was handling those flat lattice materials, because I'm pretty sure it just blocked them out. I might be wrong on that. Maybe I'm gaslighting myself, but one of the fun things I've been noticing by working on this mod... Dude! What the fuck did... Where are you from? Did you run from... Where did you run from, dude? You're from, like, somewhere else. You're not one of the normal hollows. But one of the really cool things of working on this is I'm noticing that Remastered actually did improve mesh LODs, where things are rendering at a higher quality from a distance. I've noticed that. It absolutely... They did change that. Ooh, we got this little light coming in here. Oh, it's so nice now. Oh my god. This is why I'm not adjusting Prepare to Die Edition at all. Like, I'm keeping the lighting settings 100% as they are, which, you know, is being faithful, but it is also saving me an ass load of time. I was able to do Firelink Shrine and then all the way up to this bonfire within like 30 minutes. So this mod is way quicker than my remastered one. Not to mention, I've done most of the legwork with the remastered mod. So like, I know the mistakes to make, and I know what can fix them, and so everything is just way easier. I'll also show you the file system for Prepare to Die Edition. It functions actually quite differently from remastered in a few ways, but in a better way, to be honest. It is vastly more, it's way quicker. It's way quicker to edit things. And this here is an example of, I stripped out the baked lighting from this map piece, so you get these nice shadows from the map piece here, and you get the nice shadows here. And all very nice, very cool. But a key thing I ran into is the interiors. And these were the bane of my existence with the remastered mod, or are the bane of my existence. And actually, you see the floating buckets. We'd love to see it. Oh, you just fucking messed up. So this right here, this light coming in, is baked. And you can obviously very clearly tell that it's super baked, and that's why this little shadow in here looks really terrible. But I have kept that baked light map, because when I strip this out, just as I did my remastered, it gets ugly as fuck. And so my goal with this mod is to selectively remove baked lighting. Very selectively, when I need to. But if there's a case where I have to decide between doing it and not doing it, I will not do it. Because I do think the baked lighting looks so much better. When you strip this out, it is fucking ugly. And it loses the illumination around the torches and how it's lighting the scene. Like, it gets so terrible because it's being baked, right? And dynamic, there's just no capability in the engine for like understanding that, and or little understanding, I should say. And you also have like the shadow, which doesn't make much sense. Their current setup for shadow source destination has a shadow being cast inside this room, which commonly doesn't make any sense, like over here. It makes sense here, but then you go into the shadowed regions and it's still casting it. But the upside is that you do get a shadow when you're around the bonfire. Is it perspective correct? It is not. But it's better than nothing, I suppose, and it does look, you know, it does look nice. And now you also get these really awkward shadows on these objects. Now, these are dynamic objects, so unfortunately I can't bake any shadows for these. I think these shadows look pretty bad. And this is actually a case where I would likely turn off the shadowing. Which actually, let's try that real quick, because I do think these shadows are particularly ugly. So we're actually already in this room, inside Prepare to Die Edition, which, oh my god, it's so much nicer modding Prepare to Die Edition, to be honest. And it's not really about DS Map Studio anymore, because that is now about the same difficulty level as with Remastered versus Prepare to Die. Like, they look pretty much the same. But this is a case where I think these probably shouldn't have shadows. I don't think it looks good. I think they're from the edge of the illumination. If anything, their shadows should be this way, but they're just not. I think this is a case where you let the ambient occlusion do its work. I think that's probably more correct. So if we turn off the shadow source, but we keep them as a destination, not that there is any sort of shadow hitting them, and I also will not be messing with the draw groups on everything. Because Prepare to Die Edition isn't optimized as well as Remastered, I'm going to try to limit my changing of this to where with these draw group settings, it's likely getting rid of these at some point when you're out here. And if I were to change those to my normal like 0 or whatever, it would be rendering them from a greater distance, but there's no reason to do that. I think that the only time I will be adjusting the draw groups or mesh LODs is when I need to. Like, for instance, up here, when I walked, these were super degraded at a distance, and these crates were very degraded at a distance. They were set to a different mesh LOD param, which you can see on the right over here. And this was actually much more strict than how Remastered did it, because now I'm noticing it, because I've spent so much time in Remastered. Prepare to Die Edition, yeah, they were super strict on LODs. So I have fixed it so where these do not degrade at a distance now. They are still set to disappear at certain times, which for performance I think is good, as long as the player does not notice it. And I've already had many things where I went, oh my god, that whole thing disappeared? How did people not notice this? Or how most people didn't notice this, or I didn't notice this. But yeah, so that's a quick primer on that. There are definitely things that are drawing in sooner, if that makes sense. And we're drawing in, getting cold faster, basically. So we have removed the shadow casting from these. Let's save that. And then let's go to our data folder and let's hit that. All right. I'm going to have people ask me how I got my hands on the Steam version. That, all I'll say, well, people could DM me. I think people could DM me about it, and I'll tell them where I got it from. On video, I don't think I'll say where I got it from. It doesn't seem like a great idea. But I would say, ideologically, Bandai Namco removed the Prepare to Die Edition from sale. And I think when you do that, you basically force them to find it in other ways. Because you've removed it from the legal format. You've removed it in the legal form that someone can buy it. So when you do that, well, it's not rocket science what's going to happen. So anyway, Yeah, DM me on Discord. See if these shadows are gone. Okay, this looks so much better because the ambient occlusion is doing the work. It's adding the little darkness. It's adding the darkness around them. And that's actually due to DS Fix, which the instructions for this mod, when I do actually like make a Nexus release, will include, here's how you set up DS Fix. It's super easy. There's actually a utility now. I mean, there has been, and it just, you check a box, you say, I want DS Fix. That's it. There's nothing super crazy. And that'll get you 60 FPS, ambient occlusion, anisotropy filtering, depth of field scaling, and it does a lot of the work. I'm just doing the manual work, which is removing the baked lighting. And another thing I will be doing is, for example, like this here, if you see on this little edge, that is a mesh hole. I have fixed that mesh hole in Remastered. But there are a lot of these in Undead Bird and elsewhere. And so these mesh holes I will be fixing, because that is not an artistic change. That is just, well, they didn't notice it and they didn't fix it. So I will fix that. So I will be fixing the glitches in the mesh holes, which actually, now that I realize it, there was a mesh hole in the remastered version right here, and I don't notice it. I do see some other mesh holes, but the seam, the giant seam, was like right where my head is. So I don't see that, so that's interesting. In this room, there is the other thing I fixed that, oh, maybe it's only noticeable from a certain angle. Yeah, it is. Okay, so you don't notice it from here, which I think is why it went unnoticed. But if you pan up, I think it's the ambient occlusion that is actually making it visible, and that you can now see the little connection of the mesh is actually clipping through. So I can fix that easily. I will be waiting until the Blender Soulstruct program, or plugin I mean, is updated for Prepare to Die Edition. Currently it only works with Remaster, but Grimm has specifically said that Prepare to Die and Bloodborne are coming very soon. And so I'll be able to do the same things that I've done with Remaster, and fix the mesh holes, and you keep the artistic integrity, and that's my goal. So I'll have like an actual list, but I'm just super excited to work on this. I think this, and I know some people are going to be like, you know, I've already had some on Twitter that are like, you should only be working on Remastered, or I think you should be working on Remastered just because it's the one that people can play. And, you know, I get that, but I'm going to work on both. You know, that's like people telling me I shouldn't be working on DS2. You know, I had one guy say in the comments yesterday that was like, yeah, well, I don't think DS2 is worth working on. And of course my response is, well, I disagree. So thanks for your feedback, but I'm going to work on what I fucking want to work on. So thanks for that. Which I know sounds rough, but I've been getting a lot of that where they're like, hey, can you make this version and that version? And can you do this with the like and the dislikes that I have? And my response is just basically, no, I'm not going to do that. I appreciate constructive feedback, but when you start saying, can you make a version for this, a version for that, a version for this, then that is a non-starter. I'm not going to do that. It's a mod. Download if you like it, and don't if you don't like it. I like feedback. I do. I like feedback of, oh, I don't know, what about this? Does this change look good? Okay, well, and like, that's totally cool. That's helped me a lot. But when it comes down to like, hey, can you make a different version for this? I get the suggestion, but as a mod creator, it's not terribly helpful, as it's a lot of work. And I'm just not going to maintain two versions. That's, with the way Dark Souls modding works, that's just crawling over broken glass. I'm just not going to do that. And so yeah, you know, constructive feedback would be helpful, but multiple versions or telling me that it's not worth working on something and I should actually go work on a different game, for that I say fuck off. Like, I'm going to be real clear about that. Fuck off with that. That doesn't do anything for me. If anything, it gives me a chuckle. Because it's just, like, to me, that's just such a weird thing to tell a mod creator. Like, I put hundreds of hours into DS2 modding, and to tell that person, yeah, I don't know, man, I just don't think that's worth it. And so, you know, that's kind of one of the things where it cracks me up, where I go, did I fucking ask you? Did I fucking ask you? Sorry if I'm getting a little crazy at the end of the video. I just thought it was funny. I don't know, those reactions to me. Luckily for me, 99.5% of my comments on this channel are wonderful and so nice and so supportive, and I love you guys, and you're so cool, and you're the real homies, you know. And then there's always going to be that little percentage that is just like, okay, well, I'm not going to make you happy. Can you please just? I'm not going to make you happy. Nothing is going to make you happy. So just enjoy the video, man. Don't you know? You don't need to poo-poo which game I'm working on. That's not anything. So, pivoting from that, if you like the idea of a Prepare to Die faithful remaster, comment down below, and maybe like it. That helps a lot. Share it. And I want to work on like an actual trailer for it or something, and get a little bit more into that. I was actually inspired by the Pixel Souls demastered like trailer they put out. Oh, that was so sick. I want to put out like a trailer for some of the mods I've worked on. I think that sounds cool and could get people more interested in them, you know. And yeah, maybe share the video too, and subscribe if you haven't already, because I make videos pretty much daily, and I'm doing cool Dark Souls shit. And if you want to watch that and eat food while you watch it, or wake up and, you know, have a relaxing, nerdy ASMR session of Dark Souls modding, well, then you have found the right channel. So I'm glad you're here, and yeah, praise the sun, and I'll see you on the next video.